I think I'm like most Americans that say, I don't care what color you are. I'll judge you on the content of your character. I'll judge you on your work ethic. And I'll judge you on whether you're part of the American culture, meaning, do you believe in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights? If you do, I don't care what color you are. I want you here. But we're not getting that. And there's this, the left keeps talking about this great replacement theory, which I'm against. If you are trying to say that, we're going to replace people to make sure we get other colors in here, I'm against that. I'm against whatever color is doing it. There was a tweet that came out from a woman in Great Britain. It said the white British population has decreased by 600,000, while the minority population has increased by 1.2. So yes, lads, we're winning. Well, that's bigotry. That's small-mindedness, and that is one version of the great replacement theory that I'm completely against. Here's another version. Let me play something that came in from Kristanti Harris. Thank you, Kristanti, for getting this video of one of the Democratic voters admitting what his ideal world would look like. Here we go. Got one. We have it?
I have my choice. In my perfect world, every Republican is out of the country and all the immigrants come in. That's what I want. It's never going to happen. That's what I want.
But we're all immigrants. We all came from somewhere else.
Right. So.
Okay, so I don't know if he was serious or not, but that is what's happening. It's an ideological replacement theory. The executive director for the Center for Renewing America, Wade Miller, responded to one of my tweets on this. And I think he's exactly the guy who can explain we're not fighting Harris and Walz. We're fighting globalism. And they are trying to use immigration to swing that. Welcome, Wade. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. You wrote an article, The Great Replacement Theory and Practice. And you talked about what was in Kamala Harris's 2019 presidential campaign website and a study that she linked to. Do you remember what that said? I have it in front of me. If
you want to read it off the top, I just added it to the top of the paper.
Yeah, okay, so it says the electoral implications of amnesty and open border policies is not only the right thing to do for families and the economy, it also has key electoral implications. More than 500,000 of these children, nearly 600,000, are currently voting age. 1.7 million will be of voting age by 2020 presidential election. These numbers could provide sizable contributions to the margin of victory in swing states. They are talking about bringing in new voters that they can count on ideologically. That is what the great replacement theory is that's actually happening. Do you agree or not?
I absolutely do. And I think that, the tweet that I responded to, you really kind of locked in on an issue, which is that there are people who talk about this that don't understand it and that we wouldn't agree with. And we don't think that their conception of this is moral on both the left and the extreme far right. But nonetheless, the left is doing something in this space. And I think that I identified two main channels of this. And one is the left wants people who ideologically agree with them. It's not necessarily a racialist perspective. Correct. And then there's another camp in the left that absolutely is kind of inherently racist. It's the left talks about anti-whiteness, anti-racism, and inherently embraces anti-whiteness. The Ibram X. Kendis, you have kind of a virulent anti-white sentiment, and they do explicitly want to replace the white population. But our objection, as you noted, at the outset, is that we want our border policy to center around what's in the best interests of the American people, and that's a colorblind philosophy. If you love liberty, if you're going to come here and create become a billionaire and start a worldwide, company, and you love liberty, I'm thinking of people, kind of like Elon Musk. Great, You're a value add to our community. And I don't care what your skin color is. But there is an element that does care. They don't want people that don't look like them coming here. But then, so their perspective is immoral. But the left is absolutely embracing this. And all of these varying viewpoints and perspectives coming at this issue kind of taint the issue. And the left has capitalized on that to say that if you even talk about this, you're embracing white supremacist ideology. You must be a racist. Mm-hmm. And there's our perspective on this, which is that both of those camps are wrong. The left is racist and wrong, and the kind of extreme elements are on the right are wrong. But nevertheless, the left is doing that, and it's okay and it's right to call them out on it. In fact, I think it's moral to call them out on it.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I'm doing a special tonight. We're not fighting Harris walls this November. We're fighting globalism. I'm doing a special on this tonight. I went down a rabbit hole last night, unfortunately, and I just was looking at the videos that are coming from all over Europe about how the Islamatization of the West is happening, and how now citizens are starting to say, you know what, I have a problem because we're losing everything that we are, and everything that we are made us who we are. And now we got here. I don't mind people coming in and melding in and also bringing some great things from their culture, but they're not. They're just taking what they had and then bringing it to Germany or Sweden or England, and it is replacing the Western culture. And it's terrifying how close we are to civil war all across the Western world.
Right. And the United States is facing a little bit different flavor and different, rates, percentages. So Europe is facing more of kind of an Islamic threat. We certainly have an Islamic radicalism threat, but the left, because of our geography, is really keyed more in on ideological replacement. They want people that will be friendly to their regime. But in Europe, they're facing this issue where the progressive woke left in their countries are keying in on if you're a citizen and you like the traditions and culture of your country, and you don't want people, coming from a population where 89% of those people want Sharia law entering into your country because you don't think that they're going to assimilate, that's somehow hatred and bigotry and Islamophobia.
Correct.
And that's just not the case. And I think that people have a legitimate reason to stand up and say, when people come into our country, it should be in the best interest of the people currently living there. Are the people coming there going to be, are they going to assimilate in a way and embrace the existing culture's values? Because here's the problem. If that doesn't occur, what you get is sectarian strife. You have wedges and you have different nations existing within the same country borders, and that leads down a path that is unavoidable at that point, that you will have increasing levels of violence because you have different cultures trying to coexist, and that just doesn't happen. You want people, like if someone comes here from Mexico and they love baseball and they love liberty, we can assimilate. You see this in Texas. Texian culture is a real thing. It's a melding, and it's a good fit, and it works at the right rates. You can't bring 10 million people in, but if you have 5,000 people a year coming into Texas, that works, and you see it. It's vibrant. But that's not what is happening in the United States as a whole, and that's not what is happening in Europe. And it's starting to lead to a lot of big problems, and anyone who wants to talk about that is inherently, right out of the gate, called a racist.
So if you look at, again, what's happening in Europe, they are cracking down on anybody. I mean, I just told a story, a guy who got 2 years in prison for printing a sticker that said, it's okay to be white. And the judge said, I can tell where that came from. You're a white supremacist, and 2 years in prison. We're losing the ability to speak up and say reasonably, wait, this is erasing the Western culture, and that's a bad thing. How do we address this in a way that is quick enough and effective enough to stop this? Because we're really running out of time.
Well, I think the biggest problem we face right now is that we're in a society and a culture, and Europe largely too, where the emperor is wearing clothes, and everyone is afraid to admit that that's just not the case because it's not woke and it's not politically correct to point out the obvious. And I think a lot of people struggle with how do they actually convey the sentiment that you and I are conveying, because you and I have sat down and thought a lot about this, and we know how to articulate it. People know that something's not quite right, but they're afraid of being called an Islamophobe or a racist or whatever is coming their way, and their jobs and their livelihoods may depend on it. But I hear this when it comes to things like DEI, which is kind of a similar analog here, which is that people at the water cooler at these corporations, they all know it's ridiculous, but no one is willing to say it, because everyone understands that if you want to become a manager in this, or get a promotion, you got to play the game. You got to be seen as believing in this nonsense. And I think that that's the hurdle we're over. And so the prescription for that is, I think we need more large voices calling this out, people who have, are kind of bulletproof in terms of they can run into oncoming traffic and just state the truth. And I think that as that happens, more people will see the safety in speaking the truth and understand that expressing their sentiment on this is moral. It's not racist. It's a moral statement about preserving one's culture and values and the importance of that. And that can happen in a multi-ethnic, racial community, as is happening here in the United States. I'm reminded of the guys I serve with. I'm on chat threads with black guys, Hispanic guys that I serve with in the Marine Corps. They're all MAGA. They're all MAGA. They're, in fact, in some respects, they're even to the right of me, and I'm pretty far right. And that's a community that can exist, and it does. And it's okay to talk about this in terms of protecting your nation and protecting your people and the culture, because it's important. Every institution in our culture is built upon these common understandings. If you start bringing in large numbers of people who don't comport with that, it just creates long-term social strife and problems, and it's okay to say this isn't right, and we've got to slow things down. We've got to be more methodical. It's okay to want a 15-point background check on every single person. And by the way, it's okay to screen for ideological radicalism, which is something that most nations just don't do. They're like, are you on a terrorist watch list? No? Okay, you otherwise qualify. But they don't ask them, do you believe that people who leave the faith of Islam should be put to death? Well, if you answer yes to that, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're probably not a good fit for Western civilization, and you shouldn't be allowed in.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Wade, I appreciate it, and thanks for being such a strong voice on truth. He's the executive director of Center for Renewing America. You can, what's your website?
AmericaRenewing.com.
Okay, or AmericaRenewing.com. You can also follow him on Twitter at WadeMiller_USMC. Wade, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
You bet.